took a breather and came back in no time. Put the ball in my possession and it's showtime. I'm taking the last shot, coach, don't mind. I'm a different predicament, so it troubles you. Game clock ticking and I'm coming for the W. One man ain't enough, they gon' have to double two. Get ball shot made, all the fans loving you. Time expired, everybody rushing you. Now you done showed them what you about. Try to tell you we was gon' make it without a doubt. Do what they can, I'm already stamping. I be shitting like Kevin Durant. I'm in the game, hey up. When I steps on the floor, I don't waste time. 2 seconds, one shot, I'ma make mine. Hit a 3-pointer on baseline. They want my spot, I'm trying to save mine. So you should move over, 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 you should move over.
How's everybody doing today, man? Hoop Narrative Podcast, man. It's your boy Fred Dro, and I'm here with my boy OT, man. OT, how you feeling today, man? We got a couple special guests in the building.
Yeah, man. I know this is real personal for you, Fred. A little bit for me. I think the town's definitely gonna love this one.
Big time.
We got O'Day High School head coach, Mr. Jason Kerr, in the building, and his forever long sidekick, Mr. Ryland Brown, in the building. What's up, fellas?
What's going on?
Hey, Ryland's a legend himself, man. Just to dust off that sidekick narrative.
Yeah, he's no sidekick. He's no sidekick.
Oh,
No. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna call him the sidekick for all of next season.
But fellas, we're happy to have you guys on the show. We really appreciate you guys for coming on. It's definitely personal for me, personal for O. So we just want to say we appreciate you guys.
It's a pleasure, man. It's an esteemed list of guests you got going, man. So humble to be on the Mount Rushmore, man, and definitely more humbling to just see you guys thriving and, you know, taking big steps and making the podcast is what it is, man. So appreciative.
Yeah, I mean, out of all our guys, getting Kerr on here was almost the most difficult out of all of them. So this, like I said, this is real special.
Like I told you both, if you weren't family, I wouldn't be here.
Come on, man. Hey, Ryland knows, man. Ryland was the one that told me, man, maybe you could do it. I was like, man, no, not Kerr. He said the same thing. He said, your family, so you got a chance at least.
So yeah, D-Han, if you're seeing this, we need you on that list too.
I already called him out. I already told him if I'm doing it, you're doing it.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, pick your date. But, you know, I'll go first if you want me to. But nonetheless, you're in.
Right. That's good, man. Well, nah, man, it's great having you guys, man. And we're definitely gonna dive right in, man, and have a good dialogue, you know, talk about some things. Me and Odie came up with, we thought about some questions that would be good for you guys, pivotal for you guys. So either you guys can answer this, but one of the first things I wanted to ask you guys is about where do you think the basketball is right now as far as the nuances right now, you know, the level from in regards to 10 years ago to where it's at now. What do you guys think as far as Washington goes? Where do you think basketball is at?
Go ahead, Ryan.
It's tough, man. It's I mean, guys are just, man, they're exceptionally talented, you know, at both times. When you look at the top, I think, and I think probably the biggest thing that jumps out at me is just the amount of exposure that guys may not have gotten 10 years ago. Not necessarily top to bottom. It's not necessarily more competitive. I definitely think the city has had some good stretches in being competitive, but I mean, it's extremely competitive now with the guys that we have this year. So that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I think the game has definitely evolved for our kids. You know, they're learning more at an earlier age. I think one of the other strange parts is that you can't speed up maturity, and those are the things that remain the same. That as working with young men, you know, the pieces that you're trying to teach them that are going to carry forward with them. The game's evolved. The game's, you know, exploded and gone full speed, 100 miles an hour down the road. but you're still working with them with those off the court pieces that are kind of consistent over the last 10, 20, 30 years. I'm getting kind of old now, fellas, but those are the kind of fun back and forth. So you have to adjust back and forth, but some things stay the same.
And what you're saying, that I'm guessing your coaching philosophy has not changed much over the last 10, 20 years.
Well, I don't know that I'd say that. I think there's a lot of things with what we run, specifically offensively and defensively, that have evolved. A lot of pieces we've taken from the college game. We spent a lot of time, working with the college guys, trying to make sure that transition's really good for them. The foundation of it might feel the same. Freddie could still come and think he could run cutters, but he'd get about 2 passes into it, and he'd find out that, whoa, where are they going? Yeah, we've thrown some new things in there.
Hey, it's crazy because when I see O'Day, I'm like, I can run. I know what they're running. I can run that. I know what they're running.
So from that standpoint, I've been blessed to have a number of guys that have worked together with me for a lot of years. And, sometimes they pick on me and tell me I'm not the Kerr of old. And right now I need to be the Kerr of old. And, I'm getting older, I'm getting calmer and a little more laid back. And, I think fatherhood will do that to you too.
Where I gotta know, I don't know, either of you guys might have the answer. One thing that you guys are both infamous for, coaching style wise, and what you guys do is infamous hot. Where does that come from?
Well, I mean,
this is gonna be real political answer right here. Okay?
Super political. Well, essentially, it was a trap, kind of pulled and stretched from the old school amoeba defense, taken and twisted. And anybody that's coached with me knows that I'm real particular on what we name things, because they got to have a bite to them. Like you can't pick a soft word. It's got to have a bite to it. And we had already kind of had our normal rotation that was fire, and this was just kind of a more aggressive version of fire. And so we just kind of named it hot. But it really came down to the fact that, we had some teams that were outmatched at times and had a matchup that we couldn't handle one-on-one and had to go after a guy to get the ball out of his hands, was where it really started. And then from there, it kind of became a thing, and we had a lot of success using it. We loved it then when we saw some other programs trying to run it and call it the same thing, because that's, the finest compliment you can get right there in terms of what your coaching staff has built and come up with to watch it somewhere else. So that part's been kind of fun. The hilarious part is, though, while it's one of the most talked about things, we hardly ever run it at O'Day. So, it's
everybody game plans for it, though. That's what's crazy.
Oh yeah, they're always ready for it. We had a couple fun ones where we called some timeouts and came out of the timeout, told the kids, look, as soon as the first pass goes, we're going to yell hot, 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 but nobody's going to trap. The poor kid threw it straight out of bounds thinking that the trap was coming, and it didn't come. So, a lot of years back in the days, it was pretty infamous at that time. But I think a lot of that was because the players did a heck of a job of running it, because there's not a lot of rules to it. You really get to just fly around. And so it's pretty fun for the kids to be able to do.
That's good. That's good. Ryland, man, I had a question for you. And this may, be no time soon, but what is it going to take for somebody to lure you away from Jason Kerr for a head coaching job? I'm sure you've got.
Here comes another political answer.
Right. I'm sure you've got. I'm sure you've gotten asked that a million times. I'm just saying, if you could give us, even if it's a political answer.
A lot of ADs are looking at this right now.
I don't know what a political answer is.
I just feel like you're somebody that when that time comes, it's gonna be a million people trying to get your services. You know, from you coaching me and seeing you, you're somebody that I think is gonna be a no-brainer. I think Kerr can agree to that also. And
Mhm.
I humbly appreciate it. And what's funny is that's really more of a reflection on just kind of the foundation that we work with as a staff, and really the kids. You know, like over the years, man, I've been blessed to just work with tremendous players. So, you know, Fred and I were talking, we were laughing the other day, man. It looks good when your guys are rolling. There's years where I'm sure no one would want me to coach. So, I mean, you know, I just take it as an extreme compliment. If anyone mentions me with an opening or anything like that, I mean, that's probably the highest level of appreciation you can get. And I don't know. There's a couple people that live in my house that would not handle that move. So, you know, we'll see. But I never say never, but it's tough, man. Riding with my guy is fun, man, and the kids are unbelievable. So.
And the offer is gonna have to be. It's gonna have to be crazy to leave that, man. I'm gonna just tell you that now, man. It's gonna.
Yeah. I loved how he barely answered that question.
Yeah, that's
like he didn't even give it a yes or a no.
It means a lot from y'all. That's all. It's tough. Daryl knows. Daryl, I know he's listening. Daryl knows he got a blank check. There's only two guys I give a blank check to. Daryl knows.
Yeah.
I blank check him and JK. They and they're in two different seasons, so no competition. Those two, blank check.
Well, why do you think D. Henry ain't stepped?
I've definitely had some moments where I've thought maybe I should just go to the locker room and let this guy just take over, because there's no question in terms of what his abilities are and his influence on the kids and those pieces that there's a lot of times I spend quality minutes down in the corner on that baseline and just kind of let him do his thing, because
and I've noticed that too.
I let him do his thing too much, because when I'm really not happy with what they're doing, you can always see that Ryland's running the huddle in the timeout.
You guys both went to O'Day High School. I'm correct. And I thought it was pretty dope to not only see you guys both now be coaches at O'Day, but also be coach after. I don't know, it wasn't right after, but seeing when I was there, Coach Lumpkin was there, and I know Coach Kerr, you were an assistant when he was there at the time. And Ryland, you were playing at the time.
Sir.
What did Coach Lumpkin? I'm not saying he was an afterthought in the Seattle world. I think we all know he is a legendary coach in Seattle, Washington. What did he help you with as you were finding your own way as a player and as a coach to both of you guys?
Right, you played for him.
Yeah, you know what's funny, man, and I think probably the two biggest things that I took away from him was just attention to detail and an expectation on what the game should look like. Like he really introduced me to just having a standard for what the game should look like as a team, as a player. If you're capable of this is what I should get every single time. And he was tremendous at that. It's funny. The other piece I take from him is just his ability to look at young men. And I mean, we had a conversation my senior year where he was like, have you ever thought about coaching? I was like, no way. Like, and I told him, I said, I wouldn't want to deal with a guy like myself. So that's out. But he was like, never say never type thing. And just in that conversation, it just brought up, he put so much into that conversation to where he was really observant. He wasn't really like Coach Kerr is like more like a player's coach. Like he'll have some conversations with you on and off the floor. Coach Lumpkin, hey,
not at all.
Maybe Mitch. Shout out to Mitch. Mitch might be the only guy. Like he wasn't having no conversations.
He was really like that.
Yes.
Hey, at school, he was amazing. He talked trash with the best of them. But like on a like, I'm gonna call you and check on you off season. Nah, you forget it. So like it was amazing to me because he seemed like he wasn't really in tune to pull out some of the stuff that he did. Those are the two biggest things I pull from. He's a legend for me for sure.
I think if I had two things to grab to stick on kind of Ryland's piece of things that got passed on, if you watched him work in the building, he always looked out for the guy that you thought didn't have a place. He had more conversations with the kids that didn't play a sport, weren't in a club, those were his guys. And it was kind of the thing that unless you were there at school being around him all day long, you never got to see that side of him that genuinely cared about people and kind of had a niche for, like, it was the Freddie, get over here, man. Come here. And he would engage them. And I always thought that part was cool because he had a tough exterior, but when you watched him in those moments, you knew, kind of what the whole person was, from, start to finish. The other part that always stuck out to me was, as a staff, we're way into film and data and analytics and all those pieces. Like, Freddie takes the same shot from the same place 16 times. And if he makes all 16, that's your spot. If he hasn't made one in 5 games, we need to have a conversation. The part that Phil taught me, he never watched film. He never wanted to look at stats. He was brilliant in the sense that he could remember darn near every single play of an entire game. So if you wanted to keep up with him, to have a post-game breakdown conversation about this is what we need to work on and this is the things we need to do, you really had to focus and make sure you kind of could keep up with him on that level. And from that standpoint, through the years, Ryland and I are definitely on the same page, but some of the coaches look at us like we're crazy sometimes because we're 4 minutes after the game, rattling off things as if we'd watched the film 3 or 4 times. And that was something that I think he kind of really taught both of us, that, you had to be in tune in the moment. You don't need to always, the film's great. It really helps, but you should be going into it knowing what you're looking for. I want to see that play again in the beginning of the second quarter, because that was the one I didn't like, and be able to have a little more in tune concept to what you're actually going to participate in while you're coaching the game.
Yeah, man, most definitely, man. Rest in peace to Coach Lumpkin, man. I know he was a great man. Kerr, one thing I wanted to ask you, we talked about the state of basketball, and I see a lot of coaches nowadays, and one thing I feel like stands out with you is you love to hold your best players accountable. And I feel like right now we're in a day and age of basketball where there's a lot of coaches who favor their best players and things that they want or cater to their needs. I want you to talk about what pushes you to hold your best players accountable in a day and age where coaches are more so friends with their best players.
Well, I think part of me would initially say, I don't think I hold my best players accountable, because I feel like we as a coaching staff hold all of our players accountable. It just so happens that, somebody's looking at the best player on our team and going, oh gosh, he's holding him accountable. Wow. Whatever that is.
Right.
But we truly believe as a staff that the lessons you're going to learn from that accountability, whether it's running the out of bounds play right, or showing up on time, or, having your practice gear, all these little tiny things kind of add up that are going to help you when you're a grown man and you're moving on to your new ventures in life. It may appear sometimes that, wow, he's really, going after the best player, but sometimes it's probably just because they have more of a spotlight on them.
That's true.
Than the rest of the guys. And, I think it's something important within our program, and definitely a big deal at O'Day, that, nobody's special. Everybody's equal, and everybody's the same. And we're all, subject to being accountable to what our job is. Saban and Belichick did this little, together interview and they share the thing. Just do your job. And it's something that's always kind of, rung true to me, that is important for young people to learn. Your job's going to be different than the guy to your left or right, because you've got a different, style of play. You have a different role on the team. You got a different set of skills. But at the end of the day, when you walk into an organization, or me sitting here in my house as the father of 2 children, everybody's got a different role in this house, and everybody's going to have a different role on the team, and every coach is going to have a different role on a staff. But you have to do your job, and we all got to hold each other accountable to doing it.
That's exactly what we had Paulo on here about a few episodes ago. I mean, he said that he remembers first time playing spring or summer league, and he was wondering why he wasn't playing that much, and he was coming off the bench. And just like you said, you held him accountable at early. He probably thought he was coming here being one of the top 8th graders, and you're just gonna make his rounds. But it's like you said, he knew from right then and there that he was going to have to earn his spot. And like I said, you were going to hold him accountable right from the get go.
Yeah, P said you guys tuned him up early. I already knew it though. I already knew it.
He had some long games in that summer.
No, he said it too. He said they both. I said, when they both sit down with you, you're really in trouble.
Yeah, he was sitting right next to me a couple times, and we're fortunate, man. Like we had, at that time, Cal Hansen, he's playing at UPS now. He was tough, so he wasn't a pushover. We had guys that were able to set a standard, and I think he really gravitated. I mean, that's part of what makes him kind of a fun dude. Is just like he gravitated to the competition, and to be honest, that was a big question mark. Like watching him in 6th, 7th grade, that was kind of the rumor was, he's soft, he doesn't play hard, and he really took that upon himself, not getting those minutes to change that story, and he's kept that kind of that little bug in his ear the whole time, so that's cool.
And that I think there's I could name probably 40 kids that I've watched go through the same thing in terms of if you're really, every kid says, I want to get a Division I scholarship and I want to play college basketball and all those different pieces. Okay. And you just know that he's going to respond. You know full well he's going to respond. The competitive spirit in him and his desire to get to where he wants to go. Our job as a coach is to kind of put those things in front of him to make them respond and be able to have those moments. And I think the other fun part is I'm getting old enough now that, I've got these guys that get to college and then get encountered with that first moment of, oh my gosh, I'm being held accountable for A, B, and C. Well, it's not foreign to them. It's not new. They know how to respond. They've already gone through that. And it's just a whole other part of trying to get them ready for what they're trying to move towards. And, the college game is no joke, man. These coaches are real nice in recruiting, but they're not real nice in practice. And if you don't expose them at some portion to that intensity and that adversity along the way, and there's times where we literally just invent it and make it up. We're not even bothered by anything, but we know they need to go through some adversity. And you sit on some of these better teams and life can get real easy for them, and you've got to kind of roll in and create some environments, because down the road that they're going to have to be ready for how to deal with this. Exactly. And I had a great story of a kid who actually ended up going to play Division III basketball and rolled in as a freshman. And he called me up and said, Coach, I just had to share this story. I played for one of the nicest coaches I've ever met in my life. And he walked in and he wasn't happy with us. And one of my teammates turns to me and he says, hey, he's really mad. He's so mad. And this kid looked at me and said, man, that's not mad. That's a good, happy day for my high school coach.
Right.
And he wanted to share it because I think, for the vast majority of them, by the time they get to their senior year, they understand it. They get it. They appreciate it. You know, a couple are salty here or there, but you know, you still know deep in your heart that we're pushing them for the right reason.
Yeah, and I wanted to say I was one of those guys that I struggled my freshman year, and I remember you guys coming to the game at Seattle U, and after the game, I remember you talking to me, Kurt, and one of the things you were saying was like, you dealt with this when you first got to Franklin, you know, and now you're just at another level. So now you got to start all over and figure it out again. And that was one of the things that kind of, you know, stuck with me because freshman year was probably the toughest year basketball wise. Like that was the toughest year of my life. Like that was the toughest. And I didn't know how to deal with it at times. So when I had that conversation with you, that was probably the 9th game I hadn't played. So it was tough, but something clicked, you know, something clicked for me. Like, okay, you got to just keep going, you know, and it motivated me to finish the season. And I went on to keep playing, obviously, and graduate. But who knows what those lessons that you're talking about, who knows if I didn't get those lessons, where my career or how I would have turned up, you know? So I just want to thank you for that, most definitely, both of you guys in that sense.
I appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Hey, Otis, I was going to rat on Fred. I was going to tell a story about when he came sophomore year.
Tell it.
He came in sophomore year. And, you know, it was funny because, you know, I knew Fred was talented. I talked to Rhonda, you know, she's like, take care of my baby. I'm like, of course, Rhonda, you know.
It's funny because he tried to squeeze his way to Beach, and my mom was like, oh, hell no.
Hey, and long term, I thank her for that. Trust me.
But you know what's funny though, like watching Fred walk in there, like I think, you know, like you imagine it. Beach does a great job, you know, with who they work with and how they do their stuff. But it was like one of those things. Sometimes, man, it just fits, and you know, and like it's certain guys like Fred walked in and he was talented. You know, he's a varsity caliber player as a freshman. He walked in with us and he wasn't starting or any of that, and he's looking around like same kind of thing like you said with Paulo. Like, I got to turn this up. Like, little things I'm getting away with, I can't get away with, and it's always encouraging for us as coaches to watch kind of that progression because you learn the lessons and you applied it to your game, and then you was able to apply it in college now, and that's ultimately what our goal is, to make it happen.
I got one for you, right along those lines. Senior year, Freddie, we're playing in a state championship game, and we're up 28 at halftime. And I come rolling, you know, that long walk in the Tacoma,
right?
And you're trying to get back to the locker room. And we had, you know, our rule, you sprint to the locker room, on and off the floor, all those pieces. I get to the opening of the door, and here's the seniors hanging out. So here's Freddie, here's Vontae, here's Peyton, and they're all sitting there. I was like, what are you guys doing? Get in the locker room. And they look at me and they go, no. We need, I was slightly known for some fiery halftime speeches in my younger years. I would get after it a little bit sometimes if we weren't playing the way we were playing. They said, no, we need it one more time. Come on. We got to get this. And I'm looking at them going, guys, we're up 28. What in the heck am I doing? So I looked at Coach Sharp. I said, give me a stat. And he says, well, we haven't taken any charges. Well, these poor young guys in the locker room, we go in the locker room and I just go wild over not taking any charges just so that we can kind of one more time for the seniors type of thing. They're clapping, they're loving it, they're getting all fired up, but the young guys are looking at me with their eyes just they going, what is going on with this dude? But and that was just kind of one of those things. They got it. They're like, you know, it was a crew that put all the pieces together and was, you know, really kind of able to figure it out and play as one part together at all times. But no shots at other schools though.
No, none at all.
Yes, it's one of my big pieces that I've always kind of hung on to, that our city does a really, really good job of making sure that there's a place to play for every kid.
That's true.
No matter what it is that they're looking for, no matter what their style is, no matter what kind of coach they're looking for, you know, you've got choices of Rainier Beach and Garfield and O'Day and Seattle Prep and
Just
Frank.
in the Metro League.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
yes. And I'll end my love there. But the cool part to me is it is a perfect balance. It's a perfect balance to make sure every kid, no matter what it is that they're looking for, has that opportunity of success in getting to that next level. And there's times where a lot of people want to talk about, well, this recruiting, that recruiting, and whatnot. I don't really find it that way. I really find it that kids and families are moving and going towards what they know they're looking for. And I think there's just a lot of good qualities within our league of how those things work out.
And you're now listening to Hoop Narrative Podcast. We got Franklin coaches Jason Kerr and Ryland Brown in the building with my bro Fred Joe. We're gonna get right back to you guys right after this ad. What's up, everybody? You now still listening to Hoop Narrative Podcast with my bro Fred Joe in the building again, and then we have O'Day coaches Jason Kerr and Ryland Brown in the building. If you're now listening, you can also check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and then YouTube also as well. Before we got off for the ad, we were talking about Jason Kerr and Ryland Brown and pretty much how they've been holding players accountable since they've been here. And then you also heard a little bit about some stories about Fred there. Speaking of, so you guys both started out. I want to say your first head coaching job was at Franklin High School, right? Both of you guys coaching first jobs at Franklin. So now there is a little bit of, I want to say, a different dynamic of me going to private school and public school myself. I want to say there's a different dynamic in on and off the court. What were some things that you saw that was different from you coaching at Franklin, and then now going back to O'Day?
I think probably the number one thing I noticed, I mean, me having graduated from O'Day and gone to Washington Middle School and worked at Franklin and working at O'Day now, I think, one of the things that jumps out at me, especially as a coach and a teacher, is young men are young men, or young ladies are young ladies. Like in the city, they're going to be pretty similar along a lot of lines. I think there was a different piece with O'Day, with us pulling from so many different zip codes and having young men from all over. You kind of get a more global feel for the area in terms of interests and likes, and guys get a great opportunity to be around people they wouldn't necessarily be like. And then at Franklin, you got a lot more kids in the neighborhood. And, for me, it's easy for me to drive down the street and drive past one of my players or one of the students or what have you. So to me, I think that's probably the biggest thing, man. These dudes at both places, they love hoop. They love to play in the summer. They love to play, between March and November and March. So there's a lot of similarities in small little differences.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't find when we get on the court that there's really any difference. Kids are kids, and obviously the game has changed through the years. But aside from that, it's kind of almost your safe space, because it becomes that time where things are kind of predictable in terms of what you're doing. Off the court, I think at times becomes about opportunity, and some of those pieces, at O'Day, their sole focus is to make sure that you've got everything you need to be able to provide for these young men whatever it is that you think they need. And they clear a lot of the red tape out of the way. Was a big component for me to be able to come back to coaching with, two daughters that are getting older, that I'm not spending my weekends running fundraisers and filling out gym permits.
That's real.
Buying extra clothes so that I could stay warm during practice, and a lot of those different things that they really do a great job of clearing those pieces out of the way. But that being said, sure, I don't have to do those things and can put more time into, say, home or film or, data breakdown because I'm not doing these other portions. What your kids are dealing with when they walk through the door is the same. And so your time and your attention that you're having to put towards your kids, whether it's, what's going on with them academically or what's going on with them socially, that's just time you've got to invest no matter what, no matter where you are, and no matter what year it is. And that's just a part of the journey and part of our job. And we obviously take those parts pretty serious. But I do know this, that when I get cold in the middle of practice, I just walk over to the wall and I turn the heat up. And there's no red tape. There's no permit. There's no rental fee. There's no any of that. And I think at times that can be misconstrued as privilege, as entitlement. But if you remove those portions and you looked at our young men, you're not seeing that entitlement, that privilege, that they're humble young men that are appreciative, that are going through the same things that all our other young people in the city are going through and have to navigate.
That's big. That's real big. Definitely Otis be going to O'Day and then having the Franklin. I know he got both perspectives, man.
I mean, I just think it's funny, like from a student standpoint, how much like people have this stigma when it comes to like being an O'Day student. It's so much similar to being
there is a
at
stigma
public school.
too. There is a stigma too.
Yeah, and it's like you don't understand or you don't get it that it's so much similar to a public school. I mean, yes, without the female aspect. One thing I really do, what I love though about O'Day was you don't deal with when I was there, you didn't deal with no drama. Everybody was cool with each other. Just like you said, Ryland, there's a whole bunch of different opportunities and a whole bunch of different people who come from different backgrounds, and we all were still able to gel as if like we were all came from the neighborhood, like how you guys, Fred was cool at Franklin, how you knew everybody at Garfield, Rainier Beach and whatnot.
That's true.
And I think Ryland can agree to this as well. I loved having the aspect of also being cool with the guys from the neighborhood, and also building these relationships with the people at O'Day. So oh man, you just have to go there to understand it. But I know Fred, you wasn't feeling it at all. You're at
but even some of the dudes that we were cool with, they went to O'Day, so it was a stigma. But those dudes, like the dudes that our friends were still cool. It's not like we was like, bro, you go to O'Day, you know what I mean? Like we were still cool with them. It was probably just the other, maybe just the regular students, not the athletes. I'm probably be honest. But a question I got is, if not your best, who are, I'll say 3 of your favorite players that you've ever coached? If not your best.
See, and I told him to say favorite because I knew that if you heard best, you were not going to answer the question.
Okay, favorite. What about just favorite? The favorite guys that you just love to coach.
Look, I got 2 daughters. They're 15 and 11, and I look at them point blank. I tell one of them, "You are my favorite oldest daughter, and you are my favorite youngest daughter." Now we can go through the years and I can tell you, yep, that was my favorite team of 2000 and that was my favorite team of 2001, and we can keep going. You're not ever getting me to tell you who my favorites are.
Okay, let's do team then. Let's do team.
My phone would be blowing up, going crazy, and like, are you serious, coach? Did you really say that? No way. Did you say that? No.
Nah, it would be a lot of that. Trust me.
I'll give you 2. I'm not ducking any of that.
Go ahead, Brown. Talk to me, Brown.
I'll give you 2. Now, again, as Coach Kerr saying, in my heart, all. But if I had 2 guys, 3. I'll give you 3.
3.
That really like jump out at me, and I think over the years just gained a bigger appreciation. One, he played at O'Day, which is hilarious. Only played 1 season. But Ryan McAloon, that's my dude. He looks, you'll look at him like, who is this guy? He's not doing anything. And he willed himself to make plays. We would battle about taking him out of the lineup. And I'm like, nah, he's got to be in there. But just like always wanting to play and be on the floor and win games. He's one. My other one, you know him, Fred, Chris Holmes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Chris is, and I think because Chris
I love that guy.
as much credit, and he just came and took care of business. Like over the years, like especially watching so many guys, like I just appreciate him. Like he's a dude where you'll be like if Chris don't have a Twitter or Instagram or something, you wouldn't be surprised. Like
I don't think he does.
About business. He's just about buckets. You know, he's about defense. Like he's one. And then my all-time, Coach Kerr knows, Donnie Cheatham.
Oh, DC.
Yeah, nobody. I mean, that dude. I mean, he taught me.
Can't
so
beat him.
much about, yeah, he taught me so much about just wanting to play and wanting your guys to play well. And just being willing to just, I mean, I remember, and we was down in California, he's sticking his nose in dude's chest, and you're like, hey, Donnie, I don't know if this is the guy that you really want to be sticking your nose in his chest.
So what? Huh?
Like,
so what? Huh?
And I'm doing it. I don't, and he doesn't care if it was the worst team to the greatest team on earth. That dude, and he would do stuff where you'd be like, why are you shooting that? You can't even shoot like that. And he knocks down a game winner, and you're like, what the heck? But I mean, just watching him just put in work on his game, and just a lot of the conversations we had and just watching him develop is just, you like you look at him as a sophomore, you're like, there's no way this guy's gonna be anything. And he just set the house on fire. I mean, game in and game out, man. It's just his enthusiasm. So those three stand out for me, man, for sure.
Coach Kerr?
I'll tell you this.
There you go. Right. Thank you, Ryland. That's why
you're not gonna get what you want. I'm smarter than this. Ryan went down the road of unheralded players.
He did.
We're trying to get you to do that too.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. But I'll tell you the type of players that would make that list. The guys that were mentally tough, that were physically tough, that put winning before themselves and others. And Ryan knows this and can be a little bit of a knucklehead or a hardhead at times. He knows those are the guys I prefer to coach, the ones that are a little more hard-headed. I think is a little more my personality than the yes coach guy, that wants to try to do everything perfect. And, some of the guys that maybe would be viewed as I had a better relationship with at the time than maybe Ryland did.
Yeah.
They would drive Ryland crazy. They would entertain me during the course of practice or games. Like it was
hilarious.
Can I get this dude to actually sit down and play some defense and be able to do that? But then you're really proud in years later when then the parts you fought them about so much during practices and games are the things you watch them as a freshman and a sophomore in college, get them onto the court and get them playing time.
Agreed.
And I get to call them and say, that's nice. You're doing a great job. Why didn't you ever do that for me, man? But those guys are the ones that I think really lead a team and really set an example. And more than anything, that mental toughness piece is just, being able to deal with the highs and the lows and still want to go after somebody, be down 15 and not going to put my head down and give up type of thing, but more, you think about that 06 semifinal game that we had against Curtis and just the fight that they showed. Well, a lot of that, goes to Donnie Cheatham and Zach Williams and Jordan Daisy. And they all had that mindset that it doesn't matter, we're coming at you. Yeah. So those are the guys that you really want kind of leading your team. And I think we find out who they are through our environment and the adversity that we throw at them on purpose because we don't want to wait till we're down 15 to find out who's going to be able to do it. You know, we need to find that out early on and in a private setting and a lot of those different places to get them ready.
So
Avoiding the question.
it's all good. It's all good. We're gonna work on this when we get you guys back on here down the road. We're gonna work on
good
this.
Lord.
Definitely. Definitely.
What was the second question you had?
No, this was I guess to Kerr. So you took some time off in between Franklin and O'Day.
No, you were saying favorite team. I put him on the hot
Oh
seat.
yeah.
No, he already said
you said you
he
were
already
gonna
said
give
he's
us
not
that.
doing it.
You're
He already
right.
said he's not doing
No,
it.
he said he'll do favorite team. I thought.
No, heck no. I didn't say
What?
that.
No,
I said Ryland will.
Who you guys one of your favorites that you coach, Ryland?
Favorite team automatically to be in the discussion. You got to win the championship. So that should narrow it down a whole bunch.
Okay. So I know I'm in there.
Yeah, you're in there. Fred.
Hey, I might not be it, but I'm in there, man.
Hey.
I'm in there.
That's 2 different years. That's 07 or 09, right?
No,
06.
06.
But
Yeah.
they
There's
got
09,
more, so I
03,
can't.
There's 19. There's a few. So I mean that narrows it. I mean, you know what's funny, man, looking at it over the years is just, and we've had some spectacular teams that did not win. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, what was that? That was Fred. That was junior year.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, like, I look back at it and I'm like,
Yeah, I thought we should have won junior year too. Yeah.
So to me, there's something special when you do kind of get over that hump, so to speak. And to me, I think it's just awesome with those memories, like of things that jump out at you. I mean, like on Fred's team, you know, I don't want people to think because it's a podcast. Like that 03 team was just, they were a machine, and it's hilarious. Like if you know some of those dudes and you go back to that Spokane trip, that's like if you look at the ups and downs of that season, to come out on top was like, oh wow, you know, 06. I mean, same thing. Those dudes were not a pretty team, and then they just, when they hit their stride, it was over. 09, you know, Fred and those guys. Like I look back at those dudes, and it's like, man, there was a lot of good players. You know what I mean? Like we could put Fred on somebody's best player, and Fred, you know, we got the picture with that JK when we played at Fairfax. Yeah. And you look at, or we played we played Fairfax. You're like, these dudes, Bernardo Sidney.
Yeah, Fred and Jesse Hopkins is going back and forth guarding him.
That's what people still to this day, like, how are you and Jesse, how are you guys guarding 6'10", 6'11"? I'm like, ask her, man. They did
a hell of a job at it too.
Seriously.
I mean, like, so it's stuff like that. Like even these dudes the year before, man, at O'Day, like they just they do stuff, and it's special when you see them. I think Coach Kerr would agree. Like when they put it together, and you put all the stuff you pour into them, and then they really take the wheel, and you know, where you could sit back and you know, guys come to the sideline and they're like, hey coach, you know, you see this, and I'm like, okay, well, let me sit back, let me get in the back seat. So definitely that's where I look at it.
Well, I think too, the hard part is you know, he references you got to win a championship, but you know, Rye was still in college when, you know, I took over at Franklin, and you want to talk about Franklin basketball, you can't leave out that 2000 squad. You can't leave out.
I hear a lot about that team too.
And Alvin Snow and AJ, Trevor Tsuchikawa, Aaron Brooks was a freshman, Anthony Grant, Aaron White.
Al Snow just sent me that footage to his senior.
Yeah, I'd say you would definitely hear from him if you ain't mentioned his squad.
Oh, guaranteed. And I think I relate the same thing to our first squad at O'Day that, you know, had 7 kids that had transferred out in the year and a half prior to us taking over. And I mean, I used to crack the joke, and they clearly earned their own path. But I was like, if 7 dudes left, were any of these dudes even supposed to start? Right. Like, you know, what are we doing? And, you know, Quinn Bernard, Michael Carter, and Ryan McAloon, who he referred to, and Tommy McAloon, his little brother, and just a bunch of scrappy dudes that wanted to get after it. And they get all the way to a state championship game. They didn't win it. Yeah. You know, Snow's team gets to the semifinals, and we didn't win it. and I think we've always, as both group of staffs, looked back and said, man, if we could have had that team for 2 or 3 years, it would have been different. And I've always felt bad that we never got one for Snow, because of anybody that is a fighter, that is tough mentally, that is all about winning.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to answer you, but good luck finding somebody that compete against him in those categories. Like,
Whew.
you just can't do it. And
Yeah.
I don't know that you can do it to this day. I mean, he still might get on the court with you and want to take you down. So,
So is that you? Is that
my
you saying that
favorite
he's one of your favorite players you coach?
I think that's him trying to slide it on in there, man.
trying to trap me.
Nah, that's good. That's real good.
I got one question for all three of you guys. This was a kind of a stinger. I'm trying to think of like a time where I think you guys where I was just like in such a shock that it was clear it was an L you guys took, and I was just in shock of that. I don't know if it was just who you guys were playing or what it was. Do any of you guys have recollection of playing Kevin Love in the Lake Oswego game?
I remember vividly. Vividly. I remember when I play against professionals. So
what was the game plan? What was the game plan going into that game?
I got one quick story. I remember going over the long pass a million times. I think it was the first play of the game. He throws the long pass, but I you know me, he beats me, but I catch up and pin it off the glass. And I remember Kerr looks at me with that look like, yeah, you got it. But we went over it a million times. It shouldn't have happened still. So I was praying like, I got to pin this off the glass or not, I'm coming out or Kerr's going to chew me. So I remember going over that long pass. I remember that, man.
They're tough. I mean,
they were tough.
He was incredible because you look at them on paper and you'll be like, these guys are terrible. But
yeah.
they played. I mean, you probably figured it's one of those teams played a long time together, and he was able to do everything. You know, even we went over the scouting report and, you know, like, hey, let's try to get him to do this or he's not going to be as good. And he just walked in and just did everything.
Everything.
I mean, he's on the glass. You know, take it and, you know, tough. That's not hard.
That's Ryland too. At the end of the game, he was like, I mean, what do you guys want me to say? I mean,
he's as advertised.
He was.
But these dudes fought, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, they did.
A hell of a confrontation right in front of our bench with Robert Dampierre running up to cut off the ball handler on the side. I mean, it was a collision like, oh no, put him in the tent, concussion protocol. I mean, and both kids jumped up like it was nothing. I mean, it was a battle, but our tallest dude was 6'3" at the time, and we're trying to take down Kevin Love. And to his credit, he was super unselfish.
Mm-hmm.
A guy that could have gone and you know, scored 50 on us. We locked him up. I think he had 38 and 20. So,
yeah. I remember it was 36 and 15 vividly. I remember those numbers.
We shut him down.
That we definitely did the best that we could, man. Shout out to Kevin Love. Yeah. Coach Kerr, man. Otis was talking a little bit about you taking some time off before you took the O'Day job. This is one of the only not heated questions, but one of the questions that me personally I've wanted to ask you. Franklin High School is regardless of what people, it's a prestigious school and people are used to seeing it winning, and it's been tough. I wanted you to talk about, in the best way that you can, your reasoning for leaving Franklin High School and going to O'Day, which I'm not mad about because I know you started there, so that the connection is there. But leaving Franklin High School, I had to ask.
No, it's a fair question. I mean, I think in any time you're going along the journey, I think, a few things kind of played a part in it. The interesting thing was it wasn't a knee-jerk decision. As Rye can tell you, I told these guys as a coaching staff about halfway through the year that this was it. I was going to be done at the end of the year. And credit to them, because we didn't have a small coaching staff. They could have run around and told the whole city, and not one of them did.
Mm-hmm.
It made it for a really interesting second half of the season, perspective wise.
Right.
As the coaches will share that my brain is always thinking, next year and 2 years down the road, that what are the things we have to do now, and all that kind of shifted once I decided I was going to step down. So, part of it, I was there almost 15 years, and I think at any time you start to get a sense and a feeling that you're necessarily, your job is kind of done here for what you can provide in this step. Different things changed in the building and whatnot. Different things changed in the district that made things more difficult to create what we had built.
Yeah.
I was getting older.
Yeah.
I couldn't coach the way that I did when I was 26 years old, yet I had created this, I don't
Monster.
know, image of a coach that's supposed to, where's this crazy pregame, all these different things. And, now I'm in my 40s and, I'm like, man, I'm tired, man. I don't have the energy for that. And it's hard to kind of reboot. And then I had these two little girls at home, and with all this fundraising and extra things that you're having to do off of the court outside of basketball, they're going to bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I'm walking in the door at 9 or 9:30.
Yeah.
And I'm gone every weekend doing a fundraiser to make sure that we can go to the Torrey Pines tournament or the this tournament or the that tournament. And you start to realize that your goal is in life is to make sure that you can provide your best for your young men, but I don't want to not provide my best as a father as well. And I couldn't sleep at night having to pick and choose between which one I was going to cut short. And so we kind of had that decision. We internally as a family, kind of, my wife was like, but you're a coach. Like,
shout out Miss Kerr, man. Shout out Miss Kerr, man. I love
and
Miss Kerr, and a great Spanish teacher.
But she is, right? And so, I got to the point where, okay, that's great. But if I come back, where am I going to come back to? At the time, Al Hairston was running O'Day, and, there's no reason that I'm going to be the next O'Day coach. And Al was showing no signs that he was necessarily going anywhere. And, I grew up being O'Day. I became a Quaker for life.
Yep.
I hope with some people I have dual membership still, and for some I probably don't, and that's okay. But I can tell you that once you are, I'm not going to go coach at Garfield. I'm not going to go coach at Rainier Beach. There's no way in hell I'm ever coaching at Seattle Prep. and when you look around where the opportunities are, that once I was blessed to have the opportunity and the run with the staff and the players that we had at Franklin, how would I ever possibly replace this? And it got pretty easy. It would be, well, it's going to be O'Day, or I'm not going to keep coaching.
How'd that opportunity come about?
Al stepped down. Al retired. It was a pretty basic concept 2 years after I had stepped down and kind of been out of it. My wife was getting real mad at how much money I was spending on the golf course and at Home Depot. And, kind of said, well, you always said this would be the only place you would come back. And you kind of walk around the house like you're going crazy without a team to coach. And, so a lot of long conversations with Ryland heading into the process and doing those things, and just blessed and fortunate that they gave me another opportunity, because there's not a lot of places you can leave that they're not salty when you want to try to come back. And a lot of credit to Mr. Walker and Coach Kohler that they were able to look past the fact that I left 15 years earlier and still wanted to come home and be a part of the family.
And it was tough to see you go, but I think one of the best things for me was to see you go on to O'Day and to see those same messages and same principles just, click right in. The winning still going on. I tell people all the time is when you're a winner, you're always going to have a chance. And Coach Kerr, that guy is always going to have a chance at winning because of the principles, the intangibles, the messages that the kids get. So for me, it was good to. I went to watch that game at Franklin when you were at O'Day, and I think Michael Carter was on the team. That was the first time I'm like, they're like Kerr's going. He's at Franklin. I'm like, let me go up here. I've been hearing. And me being a Kerr guy, I sat on your side, but it was crazy to see like you at O'Day, you coaching the same messages, same principles. The kids, to me, they were playing the same. The jerseys were just different. Kids were still playing the same, and it was just a good thing to see, man. So I was happy for you. I knew
I
you
ran hot that night for you.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I was like, man, this guy's running.
It's funny because I knew it was coming. Just like he said earlier, it was after the timeout, end of the first half. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. It was almost like putting on the perfect glove for you. It's a perfect situation.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Those are kind words. I really do.
Right. Well, what was your thought when you first heard from Curry that this opportunity was possible?
Man, it was to be honest, it was kind of surprising because even though he was driving Mr. Kerr crazy, he was in a good space, and we had a lot of conversations even through those 2 years when I was still coaching at Franklin, just about his perspective and just still kind of mentoring and just kind of helping me sharpen my lens as a coach. So it was a natural conversation, and much like you said, if it was going to be one place, it was going to be O'Day. And with my having gone to school there and enjoying the school and what it stands for, an easy fit for me too. So it's good.
So now you're, what are you, 4 or 5 years in at O'Day?
This will be our 6th year.
6 year?
Yep.
So that means no retirement is in the near future, right?
No plans of retirement currently. No. You won't let me.
And I think it's also befitting too. Fred, you talked about, both of you guys talked about, your coaching style. I thought it was the perfect fit with also me going all day. You're walking into a school where they're already being taught to be young men, and that's something that you're very big on as well. I definitely didn't think that there was going to be much of a different way that your coaching style I didn't think was going to change much at all. Like I said, O'Day it's fit for exactly what you bring to a team. And I always thought, like, Fred, especially like when you were coming up through the middle school ranks, and then when you moved in with us, and it's funny, everybody was trying to hear on the outside where you were going to go. Kerr didn't approach you. Like I feel like in a sense of when it comes to everybody who wants to play for either Franklin or O'Day now, in a world where a lot of these coaches, I say no names, go out and do their due diligence and go work with these guys before they get there. It seems like a lot of these families and players gravitate towards you. Why do you think that is?
Well, one.
Or gravitate to your school in the sense of where you're at. Like I said, not necessarily trying to speak to you, but just in terms of where you're at.
That was going to be the one. I mean, I think it starts first and foremost that it really goes back to what I said earlier right before the break, when I was talking about there's a lot of different opportunities out there for a lot of different kids and a lot of different families. And I think, the families that are going to be attracted to O'Day, not Coach Kerr, not the O'Day basketball program, O'Day in general, And the other schools in general. I think it just starts with what you're looking for, and I think if recruiting exists, and I can't say that it does or does not, I think a family is going to be someone that says, that's what I want. And so I'm going to go to the school that does pay me that attention. Or here are the other things that I'm looking for. Let me break it down a little bit further than just who's being nice to me and calling me, and really look into it a little bit further as to what's going to be the best fit. And I talked to families on a admissions front when we're running an open house or some of those things. I mean, not every school is meant for every kid, and you really need to look at what your situation is, what you're trying to get out of it, and really find that best fit. Because right now, for young people, man, we need them to be excited to go to school every day. We need them to love where they're at, or they're not going to have success. And for me as a parent, I've got a freshman at Ingram High School. It's my daughter. She can't go to O'Day, so that it wasn't a debate. And from that standpoint, it just really came down to what is the place that you think is going to make you happy. And I think that's my take. I think there's some families that the parents say, I'm going to make this choice for you. And I think from that, you've got an awful lot of different options of how people run things, what the environment is, what the style of play is, all those different things that, you've got good choices out there that you can choose from that's going to work for you. I don't worry about us approaching a family or a kid, because in the way that our building runs, even if you ask Paulo, and in the way that our program runs, if you're looking for that special attention to be treated like you're much better than everybody else around, we're not the spot for you. And I'm okay and comfortable saying that. And if you're not going to apply to O'Day because you can't get a sit down with the head basketball coach, then you're probably choosing the wrong school. Because once he gets here, you're not going to get a sit down with the head basketball coach then either. So why would I do it with you before you come and set that precedence that somehow this is going to be something that you get when you play in our program? Because you're not, unless your young man's having a problem academically, unless your young man has got an issue off the court that you want some help with, then by all means, give me a call. But if you want to call me about playing time, if you want to call me about what we're running X's and O's, I sure hope you can keep up with our staff, because if you can't talk the game at their level, then you can't come in for a meeting. Like, what are we doing here? And these dudes I got working with us are special. They talk it at a whole other level, and I haven't met a parent yet that can keep up with them. So, and I just think it's the fair thing for them to not try to give that image on the front end. That we see an awful lot in the college atmosphere right now, right? You've got one atmosphere that is recruiting, and then you have another atmosphere that's a rival once you get on campus.
And I feel like when people look around and they look at the different schools, I feel like some parents see O'Day almost like a college. I feel like one thing about O'Day and the coaching staff there is parents know what they're going to get. Sometimes, usually, you send your kid to high school and you're not really knowing, what's it going to be. When you go to O'Day High School, I think there's a clear-cut understanding of what you need to do on and off the court to be successful. So walking through the door, I feel like parents they're like, hey, I want my kid with that. So that's, to me, why I feel like it's easy for, young kids and parents that want the discipline, the accountability. They want the things that they're going to last long term. I think sending them to Coach Kerr is, an easy decision and how I see it.
And to even add on, I mean, just my 1 year of both able to spectate both of you guys coaching. I think, Fred, you can agree to this. It's almost Kerr and Ryland runs their programs as college programs in a sense of to the preparation
Agreed.
to being responsible, holding everybody accountable. I know we all know that Kerr is really big on punctuality, having everything neat and things like that. That was like the first time I was just like, God dang, like everything is really ran on the clock, on the schedule.
Otis, remember I told you when I got to college, I was like, this is almost like I'm familiar with this.
Exactly.
Like, and even like lasting on, and we talk now, Otis, in our group chat about this, like your high school coach is your most important coach. And for me,
for sure,
I always said that about Coach Kerr, because as I looked at my career and my life now, a lot of the things that I learned from him are applying now, help me get through college, helping me with life right now. And I feel like that's the most important aspect in it. You know what I mean? Basketball and life, like before you take that step to being a grown man, where are you going to find, what are you going to get in those lines? And I feel like Coach Kerr is the person that kind of stamps it for you. So when you get there, because when I got there, I was like, okay, now I see why Coach Kerr coached like that. He coached like he was preparing us for college. Remember I said that? I said he was literally preparing us for college.
Mm-hmm.
So, the cool part is that's what we coach for. Those are kind words, but those are really the reasons that a lot of us around the city coach for, that the young men that become grown men that make those comments or invite you to their weddings or make you a godfather of their child is above and beyond winning championships and winning games and winning the Metro League and all of that, because I know a lot of guys in this city, not just our staff, that's their focus. The end, when you get them on, I mean, you want to talk about the greatest example ever of,
man, it's gonna be tough, but that's the standard, man.
Yep. So that's cool. I love hearing that. That's cool.
It means a lot too, because Otis, and a lot of people, I've been around for a long time with this guy, and I hear the stories like, man, he's a nutcase and all these different things, like he's a madman and all these different things. And it means a lot, because Otis, you've seen behind the scenes for that year, and Fred, you was there for 3. And it's, to me, that's when you're ultimately going to see the greatest scope of the program. Mm-hmm. Come on a Tuesday or Friday, you're going to get a glimpse and you're going to take what you want to take. But it ultimately resides in the guys that you put the time and effort into. And like JK said, man, just for every program, everyone has these perceptions, but until you've really been in there with them day in and day out, it's hard to really put a stamp on it. And that means a lot coming from you two.
So before we get out of here, me and Fred are going to do it ourselves since Kerr won't do it. Let's put together, if we could put together an all Kerr Ryland squad right now.
Oh, I got to hear this.
I'm going to start off. I'm going to go.
Set up, Ryland. This is get me to disagree and argue with him. Like, hold on. No. You can't put him above this guy.
I want to hear it.
No, this is on the way out the door. This is on the way out the door.
Okay. So in my mind, Fred, I'm thinking 3-guard lineup. I think we're going to start AB, Siva, and then I'm going to say Vinoy from my point of view. If you got somebody you can maybe throw in there from the guard standpoint.
That's your 3, Otis?
That's my 3 guards. That's my 3 guards. We're going to make a 5. We're going to make a 5. We're going to make a 5. You can't think?
What is this, best Franklin player?
So just 2?
No, we're going to say it all together. I'm not done. I was just going guard-wise so far. Okay. I was saying guards.
Okay. Oh, just guards. Okay.
Mm-hmm. You got somebody to add, maybe? Is the guard set? It seems like Ryland and Kerr maybe are thinking of a name, but they ain't gonna throw it out though.
I agree on the guards, no disrespect.
Okay. The bigs, it gets tricky because I can't think of too many. I'm gonna say Paulo starts at center.
Well, it's definitely.
Are you sure? Sure. You sure he's good enough to make the list? You sure? Okay.
I'm trying. Is that your only real center you coached?
I don't even know what a center is.
True.
Kerr said even in high school it's positionless.
Come on.
True.
It's been positionless with us since back in 2000. Like,
True.
get out.
We didn't have no choice.
Yes.
Go ahead and fill that last person in, Fred. Mr. Quaker. Or you can say, or it could be from somebody from O'Day.
I almost want to go with Chris Holmes right there.
Okay.
Like somebody's got to do it all for that group.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of guys you can. Man, just off of the Alvin Snow stories, I might have to put him there. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like I haven't even seen him play, but
I was starting to get
listening
worried
to Kerr talk. I believe
your
it.
address or something. I didn't know if he had your address and you.
Al's gonna DM you fast if he hears this.
He sent me his highlight tape when AB was a freshman, and I watched it and I was like, this dude was an animal.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard the stories too. Yeah,
I love Chris Holmes, but I'm gonna go ahead and slide Al Snow right in there. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
Yeah, so we got Vinoy, who was an animal at Franklin, one of the more smoother skill guards I've seen in our time watching high schools. And then I don't think Kerr's gonna say it, but I think one of his all-time favorite players that he coached, Peyton Siva, in there. We all know what he did in his 4 years, won 3 state championships, so it's kind of hard not to put him in there.
Hey, Siva, when he sees this, he's going to say JK to GOAT. That's his favorite saying, JK to GOAT, period.
And then AB, probably Mr. Franklin, probably one of the best Quakers that ever put on the jersey. And I don't think did you coach JT?
No.
Okay. And then Al Snow was another. What's up, Fred?
And I love Vinoy, but I wouldn't mind sliding JT in there for VO.
He said he didn't coach JT. That's the only reason why I didn't throw him in there.
That's right. Okay.
That's the only reason why I didn't.
A little alumni love.
I would have loved to.
And then Al Snow is another Quaker legend who go down in history. And then Paulo is an animal and probably one of the more skilled players, being able to do a little bit of everything at 6'10" that I know I've ever seen. I think that's a solid 5. You guys agree on the 5? Or are you okay with the 5? Can I at least get a stamp of approval?
No, you're so far off. It's unbelievable.
And you didn't do a lot of research, man.
No, you really did.
Oh, really?
Grab the headlines,
man. They gotta it gotta be a little bit of politics, man. There's a whole bunch of players they got, bro, and they don't want to. I know Kerr, he doesn't want to deal with those phone calls, man.
When we get to round 2, Otis, I want to hear your 6 through 10. 1 through 5 is okay. That's you didn't put a lot of research in. I want to hear your 6 through 10. That's why I want to put some pressure on you. So research.
This was a good interview, fellas. Appreciate you guys, man.
Much love.
We definitely appreciate you guys coming on. Best of luck if there is a season for you guys this year.
There's gonna be a season. Don't come with that negativity.
No,
we're playing.
Hey, listen, I told you, Otis. I said if nobody knows, Kerr's gonna know when you say that.
I don't know if we're playing in my backyard, but we're playing. We're gonna play this season.
Hey, even if it's skins, even if you got to take the jerseys to prove a point.
That's right. Yes. Absolutely.
We'll pull out some more of them stories for next time. Oh man, I greatly appreciate you guys. It definitely, man, I appreciate Fred for making that call. We wrangled it up, Fred. We pulled it off.
Brown, I was nervous, man.
Yeah, my mom was the one who made the executive to push it out there. Fred was nervous.
So when Ryland hit me, it was crazy because Rhonda had just told me, Otis, you guys need to get Kerr.
She did. She told me personally, and then she told him.
Coming on here.
Shout out to Rhonda, by the way. Rhonda is one of the few that will pull me to the side after the game and give me the rundown on the way to hear about what just happened on a regular basis. So shout out to Rhonda.
And just a reminder, if this was not to help some of our former guys, there's no way I would have done this. There's no way.
Shout out to Ryland Brown because he told me that word for word.
Yes. So when the other media sources call and say, "Hey, can we?" Yeah, no.
I just thank God that I'm in the family, man. I appreciate you guys for everything you taught me, everything that you guys are doing for the community. You guys are doing it the right way, impacting lives, and to me, that's the most important. Regardless of scholarships and hype and all those type of things, is are you impacting young men's life for the future? And you guys are doing that at an extremely high rate. So I appreciate you guys.
For sure. Appreciate everybody who tuned in to the episode today. Shout out once again to Coach Jason Kerr, Ryland Brown, O'Day also as well. On behalf of my brother, Fredro, and myself as well. It's another episode of Hoop Narrative, man. We out.
Took a breather and came back in no time. Put the ball in my possession and it's showtime. I'm taking the last shot, coach, don't mind. I'm a different predicament, so it troubles you. Game clock ticking and I'm coming for the W. One man ain't enough, they gon' have to double two. Get ball shot made, all the fans loving you. Time expired, everybody rushing you. Now you done showed them what you about. Try to tell you we was gon' make it without a doubt. Do what they can, I'm already stamping. I be shitting like Kevin Durant. In the game, ate up. When I steps on the floor, I don't waste time. 2 seconds, one shot, I'ma make mine. Hit a 3-pointer on baseline. They want my spot, I'm trying to save mine. So you should move over. 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 So you should move over.